Good morning, everyone. This is SMD Mazharul Haq, Assistant Professor, Tripty Department, ISN Engineering College, and I am dealing the subject utilization of electrical energy. And we will today start about the topic electric heating, which is in the unit industrial heating. And in industrial heating, that is unit 1, where you are having the topics electric heating here. And electric heating, we are having the advantages, disadvantages, and also about the resistant ovens. So let's begin now. So electric heating, we will be, first of all, what is electric heating? Electric heating is any process in which electrical energy is converted to heat energy. So it is very clear here that electric heating is a process in which electrical energy is converted to heat energy. Now electric heating works on the principle of Joule heating. We have to understand this point, that electric heating works on the principle of Joule heating, where Joule heating means if an electric current is through resistor, then converts electric energy into heat energy. So if an electric current is passing through a resistor, then it converts the electric energy into a heat energy. That is called as Joule heating. The principle of electric heating is this Joule heating only. Okay. Now this introduction in about electrical heating is based on the principle of that when electric current passes through a medium, the heat is produced. Now let us take a solid material which has resistance R ohms and current flowing through it is I amperes for a time called t seconds. Then heat produced in the material will be H is equals to I square RT joules. As we already know this formula, H is equals to I square RT joules. When the current is passing through a resistor for a time of t seconds, then we can automatically say that the heat produced is equals to I square RT joules. Now, the same concept or the principle of electric heating can be used for domestic applications. So this heat is produced means that heat can be utilized in number of ways. In domestic as well as in industrial applications, we use this electric heating. Now coming to this domestic application of electric heating, how a room heater for heating the building, it is one of the example, and you might have seen immersion heater for water heating, okay, as well as hot plates for cooking, geysers, and electric kettles, electric iron, like that, whatever the devices that produce heat to cook or to make some toasters or bake some products or make some hot drinks like that, all these things are being utilized by the heat is utilized, and we are using them in the form of electric iron, electric oven, electric toasters, etc. Now coming to the industrial applications, we are having these industrial applications like melting of metals, and metals are really very hard to melt, and for that purpose we apply this electric heating, where we can easily melt the metals for different purposes. We can mold the metals to different shapes and sizes. Now in the second application is about electric welding. As you all know that welding, what is welding? Welding means attaching two metals with producing some heat or by using some fire with a high intensity is called as electric welding. Like electric welding is a process where electricity is used to convert into heat energy, and that heat will be welding these two metals. Now third example is molding of glasses, and the fourth one is the baking of insulator. As you have seen the insulators in the power systems, where the insulator will be built by some material where it should be required to bake, otherwise the strength of the insulator will be very weak. So the strength of insulator to be more, what we do is we are baking the insulator. Now we are using for the molding of plastic components also. Now the heat treatment of some pointed surfaces, and also making of plywood. Plywood also applies in the electric industrial application. Now we will come to the advantages of electrical heating over other methods of heating. Now let us see what are the advantages of electrical heating. So electrical heating has advantage of, like, it is having clean atmosphere, and it is free from dirt, no pollution, no flue gases, like it is having response, quickly responding, and a few more are comparatively it is safe, and also localized application, also uniform heating, highest efficiency of utilization, like mobility of job is also present in the electric heating. Like all these advantages can be mentioned while comparing with the other methods of heating. Now we study about the transfer of heat. How many methods of transfer of heat are there? There are three methods of transfer of heat. Number one is the conduction. This phenomenon takes place in solid, liquid and gas. The heat transfer is proportional to the difference of temperatures between the phases. And here the no actual motion of molecules takes place. So without any actual motion of molecules taking place, the transfer of heat is produced. Transfer of heat is done, okay? Next, convection. This phenomenon takes place in liquid and gas, and heat is transferred due to actual motion of molecules. In the conduction, without actual motion of molecules, and in the convection process, actual motion of molecules is being used. As another method of heat transfer is radiation. We all know about the radiations, how the radiations are there, and this phenomenon is confined to surfaces only, like radiant energy is emitted or absorbed is depend on the nature of the surface, okay. Now we will come to the classification of electric heating. Before knowing all these things, electric heating and resistance ovens, we should know about what are the types of heating actually first. So classification of electric heating is power frequency heating and high frequency heating. This is a broad classification. In that power frequency heating, we come across resistance heating. In high frequency heating, we come across induction heating. So in the resistance heating, direct resistance heating and induction heating is the one of the point here, and second point is indirect resistance heating and induction heating. So if you this is power frequency heating, it is direct resistance heating and indirect resistance heating, and induction heating it is direct core type induction heating, and this is the second one is coreless type induction heating. Next, arc heating and dielectric heating. So here direct arc heating and indirect arc heating. So these three are the things what you have to remember here is power frequency heating and high frequency heating. The resistance heating has direct resistance heating and indirect resistance heating. The high frequency heating has induction heating, that is direct core type heating, the direct core type induction heating and coreless type induction heating. And coming to the arc heating, in the power frequency heating, we have direct arc heating and indirect arc heating. And in high frequency heating, we have dielectric heating. These are the classifications. Next, the classification of heating method. Now the low temperature heating is up to 400 degrees centigrade, and medium temperature heating is from 400 to 1150 degrees centigrade, and high temperature heating is above 1150 degrees centigrade, that is 1150 degrees centigrade. If it is above, it is classified as high temperature heating. This is the main classification of heating methods. Now we will come to this diagram that is having electric heating. In electric heating, how many frequencies of heating are there, we will see here. The first one is the power frequency or ohmic, that is 50 to 60 hertz, and high frequency or radio frequency method, that is 5 to 500 kilohertz, and microwave heating, that is 0.3 gigahertz to plus or minus 300 gigahertz. And coming into power frequency, already we have seen the resistance heating and arc heating. So power frequency has resistance and arc heating. In the resistance heating, direct and indirect resistance heating. In the arc heating also, direct and indirect resistance heating. And whereas in induction heating, it is again direct induction heating and indirect induction heating. Whereas we have seen the coreless and core type induction heating also is there. And in that high frequency heating, we come across dielectric heating or high frequency capacitive heating, and also here infrared radiant or radiant heating also comes under high frequency method of heating. So mainly we consider here power frequency ohmic heating method 50 to 60 hertz, that is a normal frequency, and this requires more frequency, and these are also being used for different purposes. So we will discuss mainly about this power frequency heating as well as this induction heating in the later on classes. Okay. Now coming to the resistance heating, the example is best example electric water heater. This method is based upon the I square R loss. Whenever the I square R loss is there, nothing but heat is produced. As the current is passing through that heater, what happens is you will be having the heat produced. Now whenever the current is passed through resistor material, that is the resistor material which we are having in that heater, electric heater, as well as that heat produced will be used for boiling the water. And heat is produced because of only I square R losses, and generation of heat is done by electric resistor carrying the current. So understand this main point, the generation of heat is done by electric resistor carrying the current. Now coming to the main characteristic features of heating elements. What are the main characteristic features of heating elements? High resistivity. Should have a high resistivity so as to oppose the current and able to withstand high temperatures without deterioration. Why? Because the temperature to withstand ability should be more, otherwise it will be more fragile, and low temperature coefficient of resistance should be used. So, low temperature coefficient of resistance and high resistivity. Okay. Next is positive temperature coefficient of resistance, and fifth one is the free from oxidation. So, oxidation should not be occur more frequently for this type of material. If the oxidation occurs, the chemical property changes. Okay. Now, we will come to this direct resistance heating and indirect resistance heating differentiation. And what is the differentiation is, if the electric current is passed through the body means we can tell charge here, or we can say the charge to be heated also we can say. So, if the current is passed through the body or charge to be heated, it is called as direct heating. And indirect heating or indirect resistance heating, when electric current is passed through highly resistive material, that is called as heating element. We call it here heating element. Resistive material is called as heating element here, and here the direct heating we call it as a charge. Electric current is passed through highly resistive material, that is heating element, that is placed inside an oven, then it is called like indirect resistance heating. So, once again we will tell, when in direct heating, that is the first one, direct resistance heating, when the current is passed through the body to be heated, it is called as direct resistance heating. Indirect resistance heating means when electric current is passed through highly resistive material, or we can say heating element, that is placed inside an oven, then it is called as indirect resistance heating. Now, high efficiency, which one? Direct heating has a high efficiency. Indirect heating has a heat produced due to I square R loss in the element, it is transmitted to the body. So, here the heat is produced by the I square R loss in indirect heating, but here direct heating, the charge itself is allowed to be heated. So, it is having high efficiency. Now, example of direct resistance heating is electrode boiler for heating water, as well as resistance welding. The resistance welding comes under this direct resistance heating. Now, here the mode of heat transfer is conduction, convection or radiation in indirect resistance heating. The third point is very much important here in indirect resistance heating. The mode of heat transfer is conduction, convection or radiation. Now, the resistance oven and the domestic and commercial cooking appliances come under this indirect resistance heating category only. Okay. Next, we see how this diagram is there about direct resistance heating. As I told you just now that the charge is placed here, and in the high resistance powder is there on the charges, and also a furnace type, the body type is, that is the furnace here, and electrodes are there. For this electrode the supply is given, and this supply given the electrodes will be making this charge to be getting heated up, or this particular heat is absorbed by the charge, and the high resistance powder is also there, which will be making that particular charge or whatever the body we said that is to be heated is directly heated by the direct resistance heating. Here the charge is nothing but the material which is to be heated is placed here, and above that the high resistance powder is being placed, where this high resistance powder will allow some heat generate and allow the charge to directly get heated up. And this furnace is also built here because this furnace will not allow the heat to pass through, or it will not allow the heat to go to the atmosphere. Okay, this is closely packed like this. And second one is indirect resistance heating. In the indirect resistance heating, if you see here, it is a jacket placed inside this particular type of enclosure here is there, and inside it one jacket type is there. In that jacket we call it's known as a jacket, and in this jacket what we do, we are placing this cylindrical structure. In this cylindrical structure the heating element is placed like this, and this heating element the supply is given, and this heating element gets heated up and supplies the heat to this particular charges. We call it as a charges, or we can tell the body that is to be heated. Charges also we can tell, or the body that is to be heated also we can say here. So, this body or this charges, whatever the material that is to be heated, gets heated up in this particular structure or particular furnace also we can say. In this the charges are heated up without the direct involvement. There is a jacket here which is allowing the this heating element to pass through the heat through this cylinder and the cylindrical structure and towards the charges. So, it is indirect resistance heating. There is a jacket in between the heating element as well as the charges. But in the previous slide, directly the charges were given the heat through electrode, and whereas high resistance powder was there. Okay, here no direct contact is there, so it is called as indirect resistance heating. Now, causes of failures of heating elements. As we said, just heating elements are like this. Also, we discussed the properties of heating elements just now. We say that the causes of failures of heating elements are the formation of hot spots. Hot spots means due to high temperature, some metals will be having some burning type of these hot spots, and also the second reason is oxidation, as well as the third reason is corrosion and mechanical failure. So these are the reasons of failure of failure of heating elements. So dielectric heating is one of the heating we have discussed already, that is high frequency supply is used under the category of high frequency. We are using dielectric heating, whereas in the power frequency heating it is the direct and indirect resistance heating. And here dielectric heating, we see that this dielectric material is being heated by the high frequency supply, and this metal electrode is placed across this dielectric material, and dielectric heating is done. Okay. Dielectric heating is also known as electronic heating, where radio frequency heating or high frequency heating or diathermy also we call it. Now, dielectric heating is a special way of transforming the electric current into heat by the method of dielectric heating. Generally, foils, plates and profiles with thickness of 0.1 to 2.0 mm is welded. So, it is a dielectric heating, special way of transforming electric current into heat. We understand this point. Dielectric heating is the special way of transforming electric current into heat. Now, we understand dielectric heating as the generation of thermal energy in a non-conducting material by the application of an electromagnetic force or field to it. This is the way a microwave oven also heats the things placed in it. Okay. Now, we will come to the application of these resistance ovens and furnaces. Already we have seen in the example of indirect resistance heating the resistance ovens and furnaces. So, resistance oven nothing but it is an example of indirect resistance heating. Now, we will talk about the resistance ovens. Resistance furnaces may be classified according to their operating temperature. Now, the low temperature heating chamber with provision for ventilation is termed as the oven. So, we say here resistance furnaces may be classified according to their operating temperature. So, whatever the operating temperature is there, depending upon that the resistance furnaces are classified. Now, the low temperature heating chamber with provision for ventilation is termed as oven. Low temperature heating chamber with provision for ventilation is termed as oven. So, please understand these points. Now, resistance ovens are used for drying, baking and drying varnish coatings, vulcanizing and hardening of synthetic materials, and also for domestic heating as well as commercial heating also. They are also employed for tempering hardened steel pieces. So, resistance ovens and furnaces are having very great use in the industries as well as domestic applications. So, we can use for drying, baking and also vulcanizing all the metals also, right. Now, the medium temperature furnaces having the operating temperature between 300 degrees centigrade and 1050 degrees centigrade are employed for annealing, normalizing of steel and non-ferrous metals. Okay. Now, the high temperature furnaces are having operating temperature between 1050 degrees centigrade to 1050 degrees centigrade, and these are used for hardening applications. Now, typical furnace using heating elements and having provision of carrying out heat is shown in the figure now. So, if you see this figure, you can understand that these are the refractory materials here, and opening for conducting a control atmosphere. It is one of the inlet given, and this is the door where some things that are to be heated are placed inside, and the insulating material is being shown to without insulating material does not allow the heat to escape here. And these are the heating elements placed, and here whatever you are wanted to heat that, and you can easily heat that using this oven or resistance furnace. Also, we can say resistance ovens and resistance furnaces. These are this is the inlet opening for conducting control atmosphere. So, for opening for conducting controlled atmosphere, this is the inlet, and this is the main thing, that this door is open and we are placing the resistance, that is the elements to be heated up, or in the oven, in this oven we are placing the element. This is called as refractory material, and this is used, that is the extra heat is being absorbed here by the refractory material. Okay. So the resistance oven is constructed of fire bricks or other heat insulating material supported on a metal framework. So you can say that the resistance oven is a constructed of fire bricks or other heat insulating material supported on a metal framework. Now the heat elements are mounted on the top side or the bottom of the oven according to the circumstances. So you can see here the heating elements are mounted here, as well as this is the insulating material is placed here. The heating elements are mounted on this surface. Now the resistance furnace is an enclosure with a refractory lining, that is a surrounding layer of heat insulation and outer casing of a steel plate. The inside proportion of heating chamber are made to suit the character of the charge and type of furnace or oven. The nature of material required for insulation is determined by the maximum temperature of the inner face of layer of insulation of the heating chamber. So the heating chamber, this is the particular heating chamber. In this heating chamber, the type of material or the type of insulation required here, it depends upon the type of heating chamber we are using. Okay. Because the resistance ovens are also having different temperatures. Depending upon the temperature and depending upon the application, we are using the different type of materials for this particular heating elements, as well as the earth, as well as refractory material and insulating material. This particular things always change with the type of the oven and the temperatures. Different category of temperatures are used here. Just now discuss about different temperature categories. So we will be having the different type of materials used. The heating elements are mounted on the top, sides or bottom of the oven at circumstances. Okay. Next is the heating chambers. An enclosure of a charge to be heated by radiation or convection or by joint effect of these modes of heat transfer is known as the heating chamber. As already said that indirect resistance heating employs conduction, convection or radiation. The heating chambers also are used using the same radiation, conduction and convection process to heat the elements. Here the heat transfer takes place by conduction and convection process in the heating chambers of the ovens. Apart from mechanical consideration, the design of chamber is related primarily to temperature as well as major mode of heat transfer to be used. So heating chamber is nothing but a room like structure where the heat is being transferred to the through heating elements to the body where it is to be heated. Suppose a body is there, if it is to be heated in a heating chamber, then the heating elements will provide the heat to heat up the body and for domestic or industrial applications. Now apart from mechanical consideration, the design of chamber is related primarily to temperature as well as major mode of transfer to be used. Heat transfer and temperature are the main things that are used to design a heating chamber. So please underline this point, the temperature as well as heat transfer to be used are the main things for heating chamber development. The essential features are the enclosing the chambers, the resistors and atmosphere within the chamber. So atmosphere also should be adjusted, as we have seen that atmospheric openings are placed here to control the atmospheric temperature as well as with the temperature inside this particular chamber. Okay. Next one is the function of heating chambers. What is the function of heating chamber? As I said, the heating chamber is a chamber room like structure where all the heat transfer takes place and the heat is being transferred to the charge or the body to get heated up. Charge or body both are the same. Now to control the distribution of heat within the chamber and to control the cooling rate of charge if required and to confine the atmosphere around the charge and to store as much of heat supplied as may be practical and economical. So these are the functions of heating chambers. So again we will list out this one: to control the distribution of heat within the chamber, to control the cooling rate of charge if required, to confine the atmosphere around the charge, to store as much of heat supplied as may be practical and economical. Again we will classify these heating chambers of two types: batch type or continuous type. In the former type, the charge remains stationary during heat application. The cycle may include cooling the charge in the chamber. In case of continuous type chambers, the charge is heated as it moves through the chamber. In some cases, the chamber is extended for more or less cooling of the charge before it leaves the chamber. So continuous and batch type are being used as a heating chamber. Two types: batch type and continuous type. Now we will see what is continuous type and what is batch type. The application of batch type heating chamber is defined by the following conditions: intermittent production, long period of heating, and in some cases slow cooling. For material that cannot be handled on conveyors, as you know what are conveyors, the material that cannot be handled on conveyors, we are using this particular type of batch type heating chambers. And heating service beyond the range of capacity of conveying mechanisms, and supplementary heating services. So these type of heat transfer, these type of conditions are making use of the batch type of heating chambers, where intermittent production is required and long period of heating is required, as well as some conveyors do not have that heating capability. So in that type of things, we are using the batch type heating chamber. And a continuous type heating chamber is used where the flow of material is reasonably uniform and continuous, that is mass production conditions. In some cases, batch heating chambers with automatic charging and discharging are essentially of the continuous type only. So continuous type nothing but heating chamber is used where the flow of material is reasonably uniform and continuous. Continuous is nothing but the continuous production of some mass production conditions availing, and this batch type means where we require the heat transfer or the heating for a number of batches is called as batch type of heating. Next one, we will talk about the efficiency and losses of heating materials. Like in the resistance oven, the efficiency also matters a lot, that is the performance of the resistance ovens. So we discuss this topic, efficiency and losses of heating material. The heat produced in the heating element is also to overcome the losses occurring due to the following reasons, that is heat is used in raising the temperature of oven or furnace. So we can say oven or furnace, both are the same. Heat used in raising temperature of the containers or carriers. Second point is heat used in raising the temperature of containers or carriers. And third one is heat conducted through the walls. So the escapement of heat due to opening of door in addition to heat required to raise the temperature of the charge to the required value. So efficiency and losses of heating material, here we are discussing these four conditions where the heat produced in the heating element is also to overcome the losses occurring due to these following reasons. So if the heat is escaped, automatically the efficiency of the resistance oven decreases. So these things are main conditions where determine the efficiency of the resistance oven. Heat used in raising the temperature of the oven, heat used in raising the temperature of containers or carriers, heat conducted through the walls, as well as escapement of heat due to the opening of door, in addition of heat required to raise temperature of the charge to the required value. Now we will write the formula for the efficiency of the oven. The efficiency of oven is determined by heat required to raise the temperature of the charge to the required value divided by heat required to raise the temperature of the charge to the required value plus losses. So it is same like output by input only, the efficiency of oven, where the output is heat required to raise the temperature of the charge to required value divided by heat required to raise the temperature of the charge to the required value plus losses. Okay. So here this is the formula used for calculating the efficiency of the oven. If at all the it is asked in like how to calculate the efficiency of resistance oven, then using this formula you can find out the efficiency of oven, that is heat required by raising temperature to heat required by raising temperature plus the losses given. Okay. So with this I conclude here about this electric heating. Today we have discussed about this electric heating, types of electric heating, that is this power frequency and high frequency heating. In the direct and indirect resistance heating we have dealt about, and we have mainly discussed about the indirect resistance heating, that is having the example as resistance oven. Indirect resistance heating, the examples are also told, and direct resistance heating examples are also told. So in the next class we will come up with the other topic, that is we are having a number of topics in this, like electric welding is also there, as well as we are having this how the electric heat is being transferred to other materials, in which form also there. So we will discuss all these electric welding, and different examples are also given there. We will discuss in the next class. So I like to conclude here, and we will continue in the next class. So thank you.